This is a team that's reloaded since their Super Bowl run just 4 years prior in 2021 when they won the Super Bowl. They actually only have 8 guys left from that 2021 roster. They beat the Minnesota Vikings twice. They won the division, but they had a minus 19-point differential. He loves competing. He loves competing for a Super Bowl. They certainly don't have a very impressive roster by any means. It's a team that's expected to be one of the worst in the NFL. Hey, how's it going again, guys? I want to welcome you to the fourth edition of the RG Weekly, where we discuss some of the NFL's biggest topics. One of the more intriguing teams that I want to talk about, at the beginning of minicamp, here is the Los Angeles Rams. This is a team that's reloaded since their Super Bowl run just 4 years prior in 2021 when they won the Super Bowl. They have some of the same holdovers from that team, but not many. They have Matthew Stafford, the quarterback. They obviously have head coach Sean McVay, but most of their current roster are literally new guys. They've completely reloaded since then. They're a completely different team with a completely different look than what they had during their Super Bowl run. They actually only have 8 guys left from that 2021 roster. But this is a team that's on the cusp of being an elite one. Okay, so the past 2 years they've been in the playoffs. In 2023 they lost a close game against the Detroit Lions. They lost that game by a possession. And last year, of course, they lost in the divisional round in that memorable snow game in Philadelphia, where they literally came within 20 yards of beating the eventual Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. In fact, they gave the Eagles their biggest run for their money in their playoff run because Philadelphia actually won their games by an average margin of over 20 points per game. So I look at this Rams team, they were arguably the hottest team in the NFL in the second half of the season. They started out the year rough. They were 1-4. A lot of that had to do with injuries, especially to their receivers. Puka Nacua, who's obviously back for his third year, and Cooper Kupp, who, obviously is no longer a Los Angeles Ram, but he has since been replaced by Davante Adams, a 6-time Pro Bowler, a guy who's turned in 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. So, the Rams, like I said, they started out the year 1-4 last year. They went 9-2 in their next 11 games. So when you look at teams that are kind of, in a way, sleepers, you look at the Rams because they're kind of lurking under the radar because everybody's paying attention to the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody's paying attention to the Detroit Lions. And you got these teams that are in the next tier in the NFC, teams like the Rams, teams like the Buccaneers, who I've previously discussed, that are right there and could very well make a deep run in the playoffs and can very well emerge as Super Bowl contenders. I've talked to a number of different Los Angeles Rams players, a number of key Los Angeles Rams players, guys like Kyron Williams, guys like Braden Fisk, Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford, you name it. And they're all very high on this team, and you can't really blame them. Some of the key traits that they mention of this team is how they have a great young core. When I talked to Puka Nacua a month or two ago, he said, they basically just have to limit their self-inflicted wounds. If they can do that, because that's what happened against Philadelphia in the playoff game, if they can do that, then the sky is the limit for them. And it's hard to argue against that. Puka, like I said, Puka Nacua, who was a Pro Bowl player and already emerged as one of the best receivers in the NFL in his rookie year. He dealt with injuries last year, so that definitely, hurt the team. But once he got healthy, once the defense got healthy, they had 2 defensive Rookie of the Year candidates, and Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. Verse obviously won it. This team is just so stacked with talent. Like I said, they've completely reloaded since their 2021 team. I want you guys to check out some snippets from my interview with Puka, where he goes into detail about what the Rams need to do in order to get to that next level.
Doing.
I'm Good, I'm good. So, quick overview what we're going to be going over. Obviously, this sleep number partnership. We're going to be talking about the Rams. Going to be talking about your career. Probably going to be talking a little bit about the draft since it's coming up. Maybe get your, insight on some of these wide receiver prospects. Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
I want to naturally ask you now some questions about the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, you guys are coming off of a stellar season, playoff appearance. Thoughts individually on your most recent season, and how can you continue getting better heading into year three?
Sure. I think it's just being consistent. I know there's some injury bugs that I had to go through this past year, but then just being able to be out there every play, I think that's something I want to be able to pride myself in and be able to impact the game in every play. And that the part of that is being out there every play and mixing that in with just being out there with Devontae, having Matthew come back. We got a great squad over here. We have Kyron, and I think it'll be really exciting for everybody to see the Rams offense this year.
Yeah, man, I want to ask you, a big addition with Devontae Adams. You just brought that up. Thoughts on that addition, and what have your interactions been so far with Devontae?
He's been super great since the day he walked in the facility and we met when he signed out here. His energy has been very positive, and then when we've been out here in the first couple of days of OTAs to learn how to communicate with him and trying to get him on the same language, speaking in the Coach McVay offense has been fun, and he's a great football player and he's super smart as well. He's been around the league, so the knowledge that he has is also not from this offense. So it's been fun to kind of get some stuff that isn't kind of common knowledge over here, I guess, in the Rams organization because he's been in different places. So it's been fun to hear how he's been communicating with Coach McVay and then how he's been communicating with us. It's been super fun.
Yeah, obviously there's a little bit of a change, obviously with Cooper departing on the first day of the offseason program. Matthew Stafford was speaking to reporters, and he said that your role really doesn't change in the offense. He just wants you to be you. Thoughts on those comments?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think I just want to. Yeah, that's when I think the message I felt, and I feel like that's all I can do is just be the best Puka Nacua that I can be, and to show out here and be the guy that the guys have seen in these past 2 years, but then also to improve in the ways that Coach McVay has asked me, Coach Yarbs, and the receiver coach, and then whatever challenges present themselves this year. I know that the offseason work that we put in, that I've been putting in, and that we're putting in right now, will prepare us for those moments.
I'm sure Cooper has been very instrumental in your development as a wide receiver over your first two seasons. He's playing in Seattle now, your division rivals. Thoughts on his departure? Have you spoken to him since he's left?
Yeah, we spent most of the offseason together training pretty much all the way to when he left out there to Seattle. And we've sent a couple messages here and there. He talked to my high school quarterback my college quarterback is with the Seahawks right now, Jaron Hall. So I told him to go say some hellos for me to some people that I know over there. But I know Seattle's lucky to have him. He's a great human being and a great football player as well. And it'll be exciting to see him 2 times a year now.
Yeah, like you said, now you're going to see him 2 times a year now. Obviously, you guys are good friends from playing in Los Angeles these past couple of seasons, but when you face him, these matchups, you're going to want to beat him, right?
Oh, 100%. There's no doubt about it. I told him, I was like, after we beat you, I'm like, don't hate me, but I'm gonna need that number 10 jersey, even though it's I'm like, I haven't got one from the Rams jersey, but I'm definitely gonna need one of him in Seattle for sure.
And I know it doesn't need more fuel, the rivalry between the Rams and the Seahawks. You guys are already division rivals, but that adds a little layer to it, right? With Cooper being over there, your guy, right?
I think so, 100%. I know he's going to go out there and he's going to play. I mean, he's going to be ready to go anytime he steps out on the football field, as he always is. But I know when we play each other, whether it's at home or when it's over there, he's going to be ready for that one for sure.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, man. Like I said at the beginning of the conversation, you guys made it to the playoffs. You had a heck of a game against the Eagles. You almost beat them in Philly. Like, they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Thoughts on that experience? I know you've been to the playoffs each of your first 2 years, but how can the Rams take the next step into being an elite team?
I think just limiting kind of our self-inflicting wounds. I think some of the penalties that we have, kind of that go out throughout the season where, man, they may not impact that game and you still end up winning the game and having some holding calls or having a false start or something like that, and how pivotal those can be in a playoff game when you're in the crunch time moments and some of those things happen. And I know that I can speak for myself of, man, limiting drops. There are times where, man, Matthew Stafford can put the ball anywhere on the football field, and my job is to catch the ball. So to go out there and catch every pass he throws is my goal, and I know that I can improve in that way. And then everybody else in the Rams offense is always doing their job. So if I do my job, I know we'll be ready to beat anybody.
Yeah, you guys didn't start off hot last year, but man, you finished hot. You were one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I think a lot of that had to do with the guys getting healthy in Los Angeles. And like I said, you guys almost beat Philly in the snow. I don't think anybody expected that. That's got to give you major confidence heading into next season, right?
100%. I mean, we got a great young core, and we continue to bring back most of our pieces, and then we signed had some great new additions. So I think with Coach McVay leading the squad, there's no doubt in anybody's mind over here with the energy and the enthusiasm that he brings to the team meetings and to this football organization. It is unmatched, I believe. And then we're steady building the pieces right now, our foundation to go all the way through February.
Yeah, I want to ask you real quick. Obviously you're not the GM, and then you're not Sean McVay either. But there's this possibility here. There's a lot of talk about Jalen Ramsey potentially returning to the Rams, and Sean McVay addressed that recently. Thoughts on what Ramsey would bring to the table? And I think you've matched up once against him, Ramsey against Dolphins last year. What's it like against him?
I mean, you rarely do you see. We got to do a joint practice with the Broncos my rookie year, and that rarely do you see a guy like Patrick Surtain or Jalen Ramsey out there playing the corner position. So somebody with that size and that athletic ability is it's a fun matchup for somebody playing the offensive side of the ball. I think it was good. We had some good competition going in some of the matchups that we had, but I think somebody coming back home to LA who's won a Super Bowl would be a great addition for the Rams.
What makes him such a good cornerback? Is he just very physical?
I think his physical stature, I think, makes him unlike most of the DBs in the NFL, and then also, I think this is a mindset. That the way his swagger and his confidence when he walks out there on the football field, knowing what he's capable of, definitely gives him an edge. But I think it would be really fun to work our skills against each other if he were to come over here. But whether we see him in a Rams uniform or out there, I know we'll be getting good work.
Yeah, it would be an absolutely big addition if you guys were able to bring him back. One guy that you were able to bring back is Matthew Stafford. There were some questions about his future, but he's back. He's with the Rams. Kind of comment on your relationship with him and how he's helped you grow into the player that you are today.
Yeah, I think I feel like I've had the perfect combination of a great quarterback and a great wide receiver to kind of help me along the way and being able to understand kind of both sides of what it's like when I'm out there running routes with Coop and getting that knowledge and that feedback, and then having the perfect mixture of like, all right, what is the quarterback thinking? As much as we can talk about how receivers want to move and what our objective is. If you're not on the same page as a quarterback, it will never work out. So being able to hear what he's thinking about, all the knowledge that he has, and the understanding of, okay, he wants it to look like this, so he understands, and he can't always see the picture down the field. So he's like, man, I'm trusting you when I give you these coaching points and these cues to be in the spot where I'm telling you to be. And when you're there, it makes for magic, because he can put the ball when he says he's going to put the ball right outside the hash, about a yard away. The ball is going to be 1 yard outside the hash, right where he said it was going to be. So he makes it super fun. And for being somebody who is an older guy who might not be necessarily, I wouldn't call myself an iPad kid, but I'm close to it. He knows how to relate to us. He knows how to communicate to everybody in the locker room, and he's been a great leader for everybody here.
Yeah, man. Despite the age difference, your chemistry, you guys, it's amazing. Thank you for your time, dude.
Of course, you have a good one as well.
You have a good one, man.
As you can see there, what Puka is saying, basically the Rams are right there. They're at the cusp. I mean, it's been pretty proven over the past couple seasons that they're knocking on the doorstep of being an elite team. You know, in the second half of the year last year, they beat the Buffalo Bills, okay? They beat the Minnesota Vikings twice. Once in the regular season, once in the playoffs, in a complete blowout and a complete thumper. Okay? So this Rams team, what is also very interesting to me, outside of the things that I've said about their talent, about how they went on a hot run in the second half of the season, they have one of the easier schedules in the NFL next season. They have the 17th toughest schedule in the NFL. Okay? And I know that division in the NFC West is pretty competitive. You know, it's not an easy division to win. You have the Seattle Seahawks, who are reloaded themselves with Sam Darnold, and they got, you know, the old Rams star wide receiver Cooper Kupp, who I mentioned. And then you got the San Francisco 49ers, who they, along with the Detroit Lions, were the most injured team in the NFL last season, and that no doubt played a major role in why they had a disastrous season and why they missed the playoffs after, coming this close to winning the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. So they'll be back and motivated. And then you have a pesky Arizona Cardinals team who, not many people know this, but, the Rams, obviously, they won the division, but they had a minus 19-point differential. The Cardinals actually had the best point differential in that division with a plus 21-point differential. But with that being said, yes, it's not an easy division like the NFC South. I think most people would agree that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to run away with that division. In the NFC West, it's a little bit more competitive, but you look at this Los Angeles Rams team, yeah, obviously the cream of the crop in the NFC. It's hard to argue it's the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. The Eagles have a proven formula of success with running their offense through Saquon Barkley. And the Lions, obviously, if it wasn't for injuries, they went 15-2 even with all these injuries to Aiden Hutchinson and so many other players, and they still had an amazing record. When they get all these guys back and healthy, Aiden Hutchinson, who could very well be the Defensive Player of the Year, he was leading the league in sacks last year before his season-ending injury. It's the Lions and the Eagles, obviously, as the two favorites in the NFC, but with that being said, the Rams, like I'm saying, this is a team that has all the talent in the world that could very well match up with the Lions. Like I said, a couple of years ago, they almost beat the Lions in Detroit. And they could very well match up against Philadelphia also. They almost beat Philadelphia. They came within 20 yards of beating the Eagles in snowy conditions in Philadelphia. So, as far as my sleeper pick in the NFC, I mentioned the Buccaneers before, like I said, on a previous edition of our show. It's the Rams that are right up there with them. Those are just two sleeper teams. Do not sleep on them. Don't be surprised at all if the Los Angeles Rams remain healthy, considering this may be Matthew Stafford's last run, one of his final seasons, and he told me, he loves competing. He loves competing for a Super Bowl. That's what keeps him motivated. That's what keeps him coming back. Don't be surprised if this team is able to make a deep run in the playoffs. Another thing that I would like to discuss here on this week's edition is obviously arguably the biggest topic in the NFL right now, and it's kind of funny because it's a team that's expected to be one of the worst in the NFL. They might very well be the worst in the NFL. They certainly don't have a very impressive roster by any means. Their only star player on the offensive end is Jerry Jeudy, and their biggest defensive star, and arguably their only defensive star, is Myles Garrett. But I want to talk about the Cleveland Browns. They're obviously a notable team because of the Shedeur Sanders situation. Obviously, I don't have to go into full detail about the whole Shedeur Sanders situation. Everybody knows he dropped in the draft after he was projected to go as high as number 2. Dropped down to the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns. He wasn't even their first quarterback selected. They picked Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round before Shedeur. So obviously he wasn't at the top of their list. He was considered, in their eyes, a secondary quarterback. But with that being said, it is an open quarterback competition in Cleveland. You have, obviously, Deshaun Watson is injured and he's out of the picture. So you have the two veterans, and Joe Flacco, who they brought back after 2 years ago. He led them to a surprise playoff run and won Comeback Player of the Year in the process. And you have Kenny Pickett, who is coming off a year in which he served as the backup to Jalen Hurts, won a Super Bowl ring over there. And then you have the two rookies, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. So obviously it's very early on here. We've gone through OTAs, we're going through mini camp. And we will not know who is going to be the starting quarterback until deep into August. We might not know for sure until September, right before the Browns' regular season opener. But with that being said, I do want to say this because there's a lot of different types of reports. There's a lot of conflicting reports when it comes to overanalyzing the reps that each quarterback is taking, whether it's with a first-team offense and so forth, and the order in which it's going. Obviously, As it is right now with the first team offense, it's Joe Flacco, who's the projected favorite to start, along with Kenny Pickett switching off. And then you got after that, running the other offenses, the secondary units, it's obviously Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. So with that being said, I just want to say this. A lot of people have maybe not the greatest opinion of Shedeur, and a lot of that has to do with, I guess, the perception of him, how he may come across, or maybe how his dad has come across in interviews and what he has said about his son and trying to play him up and so forth. But this is Shedeur's job to lose, essentially. And the reason why I say that is this. Flacco's at the end of the road. He's a nice safety option to have, especially considering he's familiar with Kevin Stefanski. He's had success with Cleveland, but this Browns team isn't expecting to compete or win like they did 2 years ago. He's a safety option, and if Cleveland does decide to go all in with one of their younger or rookie quarterbacks, Flacco's not going to throw a fit over it. Even though he's a competitive guy, he's not going to be a distraction. As far as Kenny Pickett is concerned, I know a lot of people like to defend him, but Kenny, and I know he's still a young quarterback, and I've talked to Kenny before, very nice guy, by the way. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. In Pittsburgh, he had a great situation over there. He did have weapons. He had George Pickens. He had one of the best coaches in the NFL, Mike Tomlin, one of the best defensive units, and the bottom line is the guy just couldn't make plays. From a historical standpoint, he had one of the lowest touchdown percentages in NFL history of any starting quarterback. He's just not a playmaker. He's a great backup to have because of his experience. He's obviously now won a Super Bowl ring with Philadelphia, but he is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He is what you've seen from Kenny is what you're going to get. Now you have the two rookie quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and here's the bottom line: Dylan Gabriel, maybe he does emerge as the victor in this two-man race between him and Shedeur. It's technically a four-man race, but I don't see it happening. He's a very undersized quarterback. He's under 6 feet tall. If you're thinking of a long-term franchise quarterback, for as much as people like to point out Shedeur's faults, so to speak, in playing in a kind of quarterback-friendly offense at Colorado where there were a lot of short passes, Shedeur it can't be debated. He has a lot of talent, a lot more talent, you could say, than Dylan Gabriel. And he fits more of the prototype of the type of quarterbacks that succeed in today's NFL. So, with that being said, here's the bottom line and here's the reality. The Browns are going to be a bad team this year. There are no expectations. The Browns might not admit this. They'll never say this out loud. But they're hoping that Shedeur wins this quarterback battle. If Shedeur ends up winning this quarterback battle and even shows a semblance of being a franchise quarterback, that's a complete win for the Browns because they got him at a bargain in the 5th round. They're paying him absolutely nothing. I mean, it's already been made a big deal out of how Shedeur made a lot more money in NIL money at Colorado than he is on his NFL contract. So, I'm not going to go into full detail about what happened at the draft. That's in the past. That was over a month ago. What happened. But the bottom line is Shedeur was drafted in the 5th round, and he's with the Cleveland Browns. And the whole experience did humble him. It did. And I actually spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he's saying all the right things. He's coming across as the consummate teammate, the consummate professional. When I asked him about Dylan Gabriel, he said there are absolutely no problems between the two of them. He loves having him as a teammate. They're learning from each other as they go through their first OTAs, their first mini camps as rookies. So this is the best thing in a way that could have happened to Shedeur. And like I said before, the Cleveland Browns, they're hoping that Shedeur wins this quarterback battle. And like I said, if Shedeur does live up to the draft billing, as in what experts like Mel Kiper were saying about him, how they talked about him as, like, he's a franchise quarterback, talked about him as the second best quarterback prospect in this year's draft behind Cam Ward. If he really is that guy, he'll show it by winning the quarterback battle and by playing, decently well in his rookie season. But long story short, this is Shedeur's battle to win, and the Browns, like I said, they're hoping that he wins this job in his rookie season. That wraps up the 4th edition of RG Weekly. Thank you guys for joining. As I've said before in past editions, you can follow us on YouTube at the RG Media 1, where we release weekly and new episodes, and we tackle the biggest NFL topics on a weekly basis. So as we go through minicamp and, as we get to training camp in July, I look forward to tackling the biggest NFL topics for you guys. Until next time, we'll see ya.